Hi, everyone. Good to see. So, wow, super many people who are joining this panel discussion. We have quite an interesting topic today. It's about cultural diversity or cultural diversity. In other terms, multiculturalism. If you're wondering, like, what the heck is this word? Because there's obviously different kind of cultures, company culture, country culture, and so on. But maybe we could start with a little introduction round, then dig in deeper to the topic, and hopefully we'll have some time to answer a couple of questions from the audience as well. So here with me today is Sofia from Toca Boca and Milica from Funcom. Sofia, do you want to go ahead and give a little introduction about yourself?
Yeah, so like you said, I'm Sofia. I'm here in my living room in Stockholm, and I'm the recruitment manager for Toca Boca, a game studio that, surprisingly enough, we don't make games, but we make digital toys for children. That's me.
Milica?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Milica, and I work as a talent acquisition specialist at Funcom. And I'm actually here in our streaming studio within our Oslo studio.
Okay, cool. And I'm Bea. I'm working at Seriously, based in Helsinki. We're a team of 2 recruiters in the company currently. But hey, should we talk a little bit about cultural diversity? So I'm curious to hear that. Why is cultural diversity important to you or your company? How do you say that? Milica, you want to go ahead?
Yes, sure. Well, it's very important for us since we are very culturally diverse. What I mean by that is we have around 120 people, let's say, in our Oslo studio at the moment. And then we have over 25 nationalities from all over the world working together in one studio, working on the same product. So every culture gets to contribute a piece of their culture to the end product. So it's really nice to work in an environment like this. It's very motivating.
Yeah, good to hear. What about Sofia?
No, but I think, Toca Boca is similar size, similar amount of nationalities. I think we're, in terms of employees, just over 100 with about 20 plus nationalities. And I think the importance in the cultural diversity as a business, as a company as well, is, if we look at our end users, we have users all over the world. And at the heart of Toca Boca apps is the diversity and inclusion aspect, that all kids that use our apps should feel represented in who they are. So in order to do that, if we were a bunch of Swedish people, blue haired, blonde eyes, blonde eyes, blue hair. So that was the other way around. But sitting here creating something for us without able to see the cultural diversity that's out there and adding that to it, it's a different thing, kind of looking at a culture from the outside going, okay, this culture is like this. If I'm as a Swedish person looking at it, then trying to represent it, it's going to be from the outside. Whereas it's much better having somebody in that culture explaining it from the inside and representing it from the inside than rather as an onlooker. So I really think the having the diversity aspect in the team helps create a product that appeals to everybody. So I think that's why it's highly important.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and it's on very rare occasions that products are built for the local markets only.
Exactly.
Yeah. We actually have quite a similar ratio. So we're 125 employees with 19 nationalities. So sounds like we're quite similar companies in terms of multiculturalism. If we think about people or candidates who are interested in joining your company, but then again don't live in where you're located, so in Sweden or Norway, then what kind of things are you personally interested in when interviewing candidates?
Well, I would say that when we start the process with a candidate that is like outside of Norway or even Sweden, because we also have a studio in Stockholm if we're focusing only on the Nordics studios here. So first of all, it would be very important for us to understand their reasoning for wanting to relocate to Norway or to Sweden. So to understand their kind of motivation and what engaged them in the first place to say, yes, I want to leave my country or my current job or whatever they are leaving, and then move across the world to work at our studio on our games. So that would be like the initial part, and then understanding what's their situation, if they're relocating alone or with a family, what kind of support can we provide for them throughout the process. So at the end that they feel satisfied and they feel confident that they can do it with our support throughout it.
Exactly. And I'd say it's the same, understanding their motivations for wanting to move to Sweden. And I mean, sometimes people do apply and they didn't realize it was a job in Sweden. It doesn't matter how many times it said Stockholm and Sweden in the ad, still think it's a remote position or still don't realize it requires relocation.
Yeah.
So there are those, but then also understanding, okay, so what's your motivations for moving to Sweden? And I think like the favorite, or what we just say, the kind of relocation jackpot is, moving to my partner there. Go, yes, that's, that's the good one. They've been here, they understand, they're moving to somebody who can look after them. And that's that. But, and again, like Milica was saying, whether they are, they're moving with family, understanding, do they understand what it's like moving to Sweden with a family, especially if they're coming from a place where maybe being if it's a man, which, unfortunately developers of things is going to be a man a lot of the time, but maybe not. And moving with their wife and kids, do they understand that Sweden is a country where both parents work? Being a stay-at-home parent isn't really a thing here. You do need both people working in order to survive, in terms of money, salary, doing that. And also do they understand that not knowing Swedish, if you're outside of the tech industry, if their partner isn't in the tech industry, they're going to struggle to find a job if they don't know Swedish. Do they really understand the implications of moving to Sweden with family and what that really entails? It's different if it's a single person or if it's somebody with a family, and understanding the implications of it. Have they lived abroad before? Have they done this kind of move or not? So it's finding all that out and the reason why, and their own understanding of what relocation actually entails.
I would say it's very important to also give set clear expectations for them. So
Exactly,
when they actually move, they know that there can be snow for 5 months throughout the year and things like that. So just to be completely candid with them from the first communication.
Yeah, it's not like you want to scare people off, but you don't want to paint a romanticized picture.
Yeah, exactly.
I think expectation management is one of the biggest things when recruiting people. People really need to. Also, during COVID, I feel that candidates have been more interested in feeling secure. And how can you feel secure if you don't have all the details about the job and the country and so on?
Yeah.
So motivation plays a big role, but also a family. So if the person comes with the whole family, it's of course setting expectations for the rest of the family, and then if they would be happy as well. So not just the candidate.
Yeah, because in that case, if it's one person just moving, you've got to look after that one person. And if they're happy, they're going to stay. Whether, let's say, they're happy, but the rest of the family isn't, they're not going to stay. So moving a family is a bigger responsibility for us as a company as well, to make sure it's not just the employee that's going to be happy and satisfied and settling in their new country. It's got to be the whole family. And how can we make sure that's smooth? So all of that plays a part.
Yeah, exactly. When there's a person, a candidate, or a family who hasn't been to the Nordics, then or isn't familiar with your country culture or company culture, then what kind of things do you usually tell people?
Well, I would say we try to explain how things work at our studios. So how actually we approach whether it's colleague relationships, or what can they encounter in Norway when they relocate, or in Sweden when they relocate, in a sense of how would they engage with people, how would they make like that first engagement contact, because sometimes people expect that to be hard in the Nordics, but it's not that hard. Like people are very friendly and very open. So you just kind of need to have maybe a topic with them and then start the first engagement. Um, and also, I mean, explaining not only like how the country works, but also how everything within the company works as well is very important, just so they understand like the transparency of the culture and everything, because we have very like Norwegian culture, not only in our Nordic studios, but in all our studios across Europe and in the USA. And it's very like transparent and candid communication. So some cultures are maybe more close, so they need a adapting time towards that part, I would say.
But I think in terms of explaining the company culture, that's the same whether somebody's relocating or not. I mean, our company culture is what it is. We work the way we work, whether you're from Sweden or somewhere else. And I think, I mean, personally, Boca has a awesome culture, very welcoming. And I think what's a benefit in that sense, that if we were to relocate somebody tomorrow and they're not going to be the first person in the company to ever relocate to Sweden. So there are lots of other people at the company, having been in this situation, who understands what it's like to just arrive and not know anything, you know, so they will have help from their new colleagues in kind of navigating their new country, because a lot of them have been there and done that.
Yeah, for us, it's the same. Like a lot of our employees have actually relocated to Norway to work for Funcom, or they have been here as expats and then started working for us. So we have very like good support group, let's say, for everyone. Whether it's like social events to organize for everyone so they can socialize and get used to life, or like even Slack channels if it's easier just to ping people there and ask any tip.
Yeah, I just remembered now in the Slack channel, somebody just recently relocated to Sweden and asked the question of how much julmust was safe to consume in a day, which is the like popular drink during Christmas in Sweden. And it's also, but then it ended up in discussion, are you allowed to drink it outside of the Christmas period? And, you know, it's those kind of things, like specific things, and how your Swedish people would say you wouldn't drink that outside of Christmas, you know, but this guy really liked it, so why not? So there's fun little things like that happening on Slack as well, the julmust discussions.
Yeah, so it really helps to have a network of people already at the company who come from similar backgrounds or have moved from somewhere else, not specifically from the same country that candidate has moved, but all in all from
because it's easier for them to kind of go, yeah, Swedes are quirky, they do things this way. This is like, whereas a Swedish person, they would not see that as a quirk. That's like, well, that's just what we do, things that's normal. So you wouldn't be able to kind of talk about that in the sense of this is strange. Whereas the people who've got it and they say, why do you do things this way? And be like, well, why wouldn't we? You know, where other people can see it from their point of view in a better way.
Yeah. Is there something that comes as a surprise to people who have relocated already? I can tell as an example that in Finland, some people find it surprising how much Finnish people consume coffee. And they're like horrified how many cups of coffee we drink. And another thing is then related to some weird traditions that we have. For example, May Day is a really strange holiday for us where, well, it's a long story, but anyway, are people surprised about certain traditions or behaviors that you have in the company or in the country?
I haven't had anything particularly in terms of the when they arrive and things like that, because obviously then they're in the teams and I'm not necessarily there to do that. But I think Swedes actually consume more coffee than Finns.
You do? Okay.
I think we're on the top of the list, actually. But one of the things, at least in terms of the recruitment process, that surprises a lot of people, because in the first initial phone screen, we talk about things. I always ask about like notice periods and things like that, and people will go like, but I think maybe I have 2 weeks, but maybe I can get it down to 1. And I'm thinking, okay, in Sweden most people have a 3 months notice period. They're like, what? So they kind of, trying to tell me they have 2 weeks, but maybe they can get it down. And I'll be like, yeah, we're calculating with our process that the notice period is 3 months. That's our calculation. So they're surprised about things like that. And I think the surprise, partly the recruitment side, but also then the kind of level of security, because we do have like the collective bargaining agreement with the union. So the fact that we have pension schemes and, parental leave, those kind of, they have 6 weeks paid holiday, those kind of aspects, I think, around the employment and the security for an employee, those things, at least from my perspective, because there are the aspects that I speak about and people are surprised about that.
Yeah. For myself, I would say pretty much the same, as we do discuss other things as well, but most of the things that they get in detail would be these things. So the security and everything related to employment. And I also myself am new in Norway. So I'm not sure what to say about Norwegians in a sense of they're accustomed. So still learning with all our new employees.
Yeah. Hopefully this is not too tricky question, but on average, like how many applications do you usually get from abroad? I'm thinking about
percentage.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that, to be honest, most of our applications are from abroad.
Okay.
We do have a smaller gaming market in Norway, but it's not that big, and it's not that we don't have that many big studios here. So a lot of our applications are from the abroad. And it doesn't matter to us from where they apply or if they need a visa or whatever. It's just we look if they're a good fit for us. And if they are, we would do everything to get them and to help them come here.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think I don't really know the percentage either, but I think our percentage would be less than you, like you're saying, the Norwegian gaming market isn't necessarily the same as the Stockholm. We are a bit of a gaming industry hub.
Exactly.
So we do have a lot of Swedish applications.
Yeah. For us in Stockholm, it's the same. That's why I focused only on Norway, because for Stockholm Studio, it's different situation. We are picking people from the local market, and it's easier.
But even so, let's say, we are looking for the right person or for the job. I don't believe there's the one right person. I think there's more than one person who can do the job, but you're looking for a person that can do the job. Whether they are Swedish or not, whether they're located here or not, is in the end kind of irrelevant if they are a great candidate for the position. That's what we're looking for. But obviously, if we have two candidates that are fairly similar, one is in Sweden and the other one isn't, unfortunately, the person already located here is going to be the one. But if the candidate that requires relocation is a stronger candidate, then there's relocation every day, That's what it is. But I don't really have a percentage of figures. It kind of comes and goes in waves and ups and downs, and depending on the position. For some reason, our QA positions tend to be more, I think, abroad, from people from abroad than other positions. So kind of QA tends to be a lot of non-Swedes for, I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't have the percentages either from Sigrid's point of view, and it's actually for people who are listening here now. It's I think it's still illegal to ask like, for example, nationality when someone applies for the role, but it's actually irrelevant. It doesn't make any difference, like Milica said, that we try to hire the best people for the role, no matter where they are located, and then we figure out that what kind of support they need.
Exactly.
Yeah. Have you noticed this? I'm curious if you've noticed this kind of a trend that if you hire someone from abroad, do they in a way refer their friends from the country they come from?
Yes, I would say yes, but it's not a trend for foreigners only. We have good referral program within the company. and like
Yeah.
for all our studios, not only in the Nordics. So we get a lot of referrals from our employees, and it's always nice if someone knows someone, just in the sense that if they're friends or they can work together, they can kind of vouch a bit for them to say, hey, this person might be good in the sea of candidates for that role or something like that.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, that's the same. Referrals, you're going to be referring from your circle of connections, aren't you? And if you're from France and that's where you grew up and that's when you went to school and studied and worked for a lot of your life, you're more likely to refer somebody who is also French, aren't you?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's because, you know, they are French that you're referring them and you're French and you have that. It's because that's just, it makes sense. It's logical only, isn't it? I mean, if you've, and even if, let's say, it's a French person who lived and worked a lot of their working life in Germany, they're probably going to be more likely to referring German people, aren't they? So it's not really that they're referring only people from their own nationality, but you are referring people from your own circle, from your own network. And that's obviously going to be affected about, you know, with where you're from.
Yeah. I don't see any questions or comment in the chat box, so please.
We're just talking about portfolios anyway, and black screens and discos.
Yeah.
Enjoying the combo.
Yeah.
Yes, there are questions here on the backstage. Is it hard to relocate a person from outside of the EU countries? Like, I'm from India. And by the way, do you have Indians in your team?
Yeah, Milica, go.
Please go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's not hard, but it does require more paperwork and more things like that. And it's, it's not hard, but it takes a bit more effort.
Yeah, I would completely agree. It's not hard. It's a bit harder in a sense of maybe we need more paperwork, or the process would last a bit more longer if you're outside of EU, but not impossible and not hard. And we relocate people outside of EU all the time.
Yeah, I could maybe add that there's a couple of things to take into account there. One is that if the person wants to visit the studio before making a decision about joining, then that of course, like, the process is a bit longer, and then we need to apply for a visa if the person, travel visa if the person comes from a non-visa-free country, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then another aspect is COVID. So if there's a country who is currently in lockdown, I heard that there are some countries in Eastern Europe that are again in lockdown mode. So that really makes things more difficult. Yeah. All in all, it's been quite interesting to work with recruitment for the past couple of years during COVID, because every single country has had different kind of regulations, whether it's about border restrictions or something else.
Yeah, I think we switched online.
I have a question, actually. This is interesting. Yeah. I would like to know how much have your onboarding process changed now during the COVID?
Well, it was natural to adjust to online, I would say, but we tried to do the things that we would do in person, just to transfer them to online meetings and activities, and how to get that person fully on board. Of course, it's easier for someone new that joins, that they can talk in the hallway with everyone and then ask a couple of questions while making coffee, maybe. But we try to give them the right onboarding experience, even online, to have it planned and then to have it structured, and then to be meaningful for them, so that they can work and perform on their own.
Yeah, I'd say it's the same. You've just moved it online instead. And I think then the one thing that you are struggling to replicate is that whole, not just the onboarding sessions and what you're letting people know and training them, but that kind of that coffee machine chat and having that. I mean, I even missed that, not just from the onboarding. I mean, getting to know. One of the great things about working with recruitment in-house at a studio is that, you're one of the first people on the first day when you're physically at the office, you're one of the first people they know. And so you kind of get to know everyone at the company, and being quite social extrovert person. I love that, and I've really missed that. So I think that's something, and that's tricky to replicate in this kind of environment. So we've done what we can and make the best of it.
Yeah. Yes, we've also highlighted transparency because we're also a very transparent company. So for new joiners who have started remotely, especially, we highlight that there simply isn't any bad questions. You can call us anytime. We're using Slack, heavy users of Slack. You don't have to type messages. You can just give a random ad hoc call and ask for questions. So I think that has worked out pretty well.
Yeah, Slack happens a lot. We also live on Slack, so.
I have another question. If I was a candidate and I applied to you, but I wasn't called for an interview, should I apply again? And when should I, kind of way? There was a question, and I thought that this was really interesting to hear from.
I would say, of course, you could apply again, not to the very same position, because I mean, our system will not allow you to apply within a certain time period. I mean, if you were rejected for a position, then you were rejected. However, if a similar position comes up, apply again. What I would advise against is applying for every role there is. If you start applying saying, I want to be a developer, or I can work in marketing, or I can be an animator, I'm going to be like, what do you want? You know, you're just kind of desperate to join the company. You'll take any position. That's never a good thing, because most of us are working with a recruitment system, and we can see that a person has applied multiple times and do that. And if it's within the same sphere and similar roles, I see nothing strange about that. But when it's pretty much applying for anything under the sun, yeah, I'm going to be a bit like, what does this person actually want?
Yeah, I would completely agree. Like, we don't mind seeing multiple applications as long as they make sense. Like, if you're applying for the similar job functions or what's in your area of expertise. And exactly like what Sofia said, like not applying to every random job we have, because we have like 80 open jobs. And if we see like 20 of random application, it just rings the bell.
I think I had somebody apply for like art director, customer support, and then something else very random that just didn't make sense.
Yeah, they're not, probably they would not be fit for any of those roles if they applied for all of that.
Yeah, exactly. And one good tip for people who are interested in new opportunities, when you're applying to jobs, one of the key things is knowing yourself. I mean, what do you want? What kind of skills do you have currently, and what do you want to do? Because that's what recruiters, of course, want to hear.
Exactly. We want somebody who are skilled at what they do and know what they want to do. Yeah, let's say Boca would be a dream company. That still doesn't mean you want to do anything at Toca. Like, oh, I can be a cleaner at Toca. I'll do anything. It's like, no, that's not what we want. Even though the Toca is your dream company, we still want you to, you know, my dream is to be a game developer at Boca. Yeah, go for it. You know, what is it that you actually want to do at your dream company, whatever that company is?
Yeah. And I would just say, like, as a tip, like follow up to that, if you're like considering changing your field of expertise or trying something completely new within our company and you want to try to just explain it in the cover letter, so for us to know your reasonings and why you chose that and why you chose to apply for our company in that specific role.
Yeah.
Final question will be, do you give feedback to each application that comes?
No,
Yes.
Unfortunately not. The amount of applications we get, it would be, I mean, I'm up until lately, I've been the only recruiter at Boca. And I mean, I remember there was a graphic designer position. We literally had 400 applications in 2 weeks.
Wow.
I cannot give personal feedback to each and every one of them. However, once you've made it further in the process, once you've been selected for interview or anything like that kind of thing, yes, then you will get personal feedback, but not on a CV level.
For us, it's a bit different. We give feedback to everyone. I mean, of course, someone that we rejected after CV review would not get like full personal feedback, but they would get an email from us saying we are not continuing the process with you. So they will know.
Yeah, everyone will
But
get
then-
a response. Yes, everyone
Exactly.
will get to know. It's not quiet. It's not nothing. Yes, you will get thanks, but no thanks kind of message.
Yeah.
But to me, that isn't. I don't think that's what they're after with the feedback. I mean,
Yeah, it's very
explaining
different
why it's a no,
feedback
can't
after
always do.
CV and if you're in the process.
Yeah, you will always get a no, like CV level, yes or no, but you will never. You might not always 100% of the time understand why. But normally the answer is in the ad.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much. Bea, you wanna say how you do it?
Yeah, I think we're running a bit out of time, but we do very similarly. I mean, it's impossible to give feedback if you are being rejected after application review. But if you are being interviewed by a recruiter or anyone who does the first interview, then definitely you will get feedback.